Okay, we are up and going.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Two Captains, One Pod. We're without Lieutenant Junior Grade Carter tonight. He is on assignment below decks currently. We've had a warp core malfunction of some sort. My chief engineer is down there taking care of that. So you got the two captains. Welcome back, Two Captains, One Pod.
What kind of pod we're in, you decide.
Now, I'm going to preface this episode for those of you that are listening. I may have to mute quite a bit in this episode. You're going to hear my mic go on and off throughout this episode. That is because normally my wife is home and able to watch both of our kids while I do the podcast. Tonight is not one of those nights. She had to work tonight. We're working around her new schedule to see if hopefully next Thursday and Saturday, continuing Thursday and Saturday nights, she'll be home so that I can do the podcast without having to mute so much. But alas, I have the two kids with me over on the bed in the corner. So bear with me, bear with us as we talk about Strange New Worlds. And personally, now I watched a little bit of Starfleet Academy. I couldn't get too far into it because of the kids. I'll say that. But I got about a third of the way in the first episode.
Okay.
It's all right. You know, I want to finish the first episode before I make a full assumption of how I feel about it.
I will say next week. I will say that first episode's not quite as strong as some of the other episodes.
Yeah.
Like I still have yet to watch today's episode, so as far as that goes, but
right. You know, but what I've seen so far, it's captured my attention. I'll say that. But with all the Trek that's come out since 2017, with all the Trek that's come out since 2017, I will say Strange New Worlds is my favorite of it all so far. And that's having picked up a few bits and pieces of Lower Decks here and there. A few bits and pieces of Prodigy. A few pieces of everything that's come out. Of course, having watched the first 3 seasons of Discovery, and then a third of one episode of Starfleet Academy. I still have yet to see anything in the third season of Strange New Worlds, because me and Hannah are trying to work our way through the movies right now, and then we're going to take a break, go back, watch all that. Because, of course, we got through Strange New Worlds before they finished putting the episodes out. But I did enjoy it. I love what they did with the crew. My first assumption of them on Discovery was just absolute trash, like Discovery was. You know, I did not care for Ethan Peck as Spock. I could not stand him. I thought he was showing a little too much emotion for the character. The retconning so much of Spock's story based off of the character Michael Burnham, and off of Sarek's story based off of the character Michael Burnham, was not a fan of that at all. However, the absolute 180 the characters make in the show Strange New Worlds has been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I love the callback to the episode The Cage in the show. One episode we go back to Rigel 7. And as everyone knows, The Cage, we had just left Rigel 7 when The Cage happens. So, you know, that callback and that whole episode was a lot of fun. The characters that we've met so far in Strange New Worlds, and I'm sorry, I'm doing a lot of talking right now because I want to talk as much before I have to mute it. So that you can get into yours while I'm muted. You know, the characters that we've met, I am in love with them. I will say I was on the fence about Anunyan Singh. I was on the fence about La'an for a minute there because, of course, yes, we have to grab the Khan people, the people that love Khan. We got to have that grab, but honestly, I mean, she's fleshed out, and as she's gotten more fleshed out, we've seen more of her character, separating her really. Her last name is nothing more than the last name at this point in time in the show.
Right.
Really has nothing to do with who she is. I love that. I think that's a beautiful. I think they've done beautifully with it. Like I said, when I first heard the name, I was like, great, they're going to make this character all about Khan. They haven't done that. There were a couple episodes where it was like, yes, let me talk about my past. This is who I'm from. This is what my ancestor did. But they haven't made her whole character about that, and I love that. I enjoy that. So. Una Chin Riley. Love her. I love her. Her story, her backstory, the trouble she gets in season 1. Mm-hmm. Who she is, an augment. That was a bit of a thrilling twist. Mbenga and Chapel's.
Well, not only an augment, but she's not human. She's an Illyrian. Right. Which I thought that was cool because that's actually an element from some of the novels that have come out over the years is that she's an Illyrian rather than a human from Earth.
Right, which I think that's a pretty cool twist on it. Getting someone that's close to Guinan. Getting a Guinan-like character in Strange New Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only is she like Guinan, she's a Starfleet member. She's technically the first Illyrian in Starfleet, and I love that. I think that's cool as shit. Chapel. I was on the fence about Chapel at first. Don't get me wrong. I love the kind of aura they've given Chapel in this show. I'm gonna have to mute here. I'm sorry, buddy.
You're good.
Take it over.
So yeah, he was on. He might have been on the fence about Chapel, but I wasn't. But that's an entirely different story for an entirely different day. But I do like the direction they've gone with Chapel, and just how they've handled her character up to this point. Anyway, they could still screw it up. It's still a possibility. Not to be not to be negative or anything, but yeah. So all kinds of fun.
Honestly, when it comes to Chapel, like I said, I was on the fence mostly because Chapel was such a fleshed out character in the original series, right? And of course, we're going before the original series, so they're not exactly who they're going to be. Anyways, we're talking young versions of them. We're talking, pre-5-year mission with them. So they're not going to be themselves. And I think that's what I've had to continuously tell myself over time. Is that, watching this is, as much as I do love it, there are things that clash with me because they're not acting the way they're supposed to. Spock is not acting like Spock in some moments. Chapel's not acting like Chapel. Uhura's not acting like Uhura. Kirk does not act like Kirk. And even Scotty, a little bit that I've seen of Scotty, he has not been fully acting like Scotty yet. But again, I have to remember, this is before Scotty is the chief engineer of the Enterprise. Knowing that ship like the back of his hand. This is before Chapel works with, McCoy and has so much under her belt that she can, clash with him on what needs to be done. But when it comes to medical,
I'm gonna need me a top nurse, not a doctor who will argue every diagnosis with me.
Yeah. And then, of course, Spock, who is just a science officer at this point in time, not a first officer. He does not have the knowledge that he will have come to 5 year mission. Come to James T. Kirk's mission on the Enterprise. And of course, this is not Captain Kirk. This is, of course, Lieutenant Kirk, who is, really just getting into who we know Kirk is. Now, of course, we heard Carter last week, his little beef with Kirk on the show. And in some ways, I do kind of agree with him. I do believe, I think he could be a little bit more brash in some settings, but overall, I enjoy him. I enjoy this actor for Kirk. Umaga, getting to see Umaga and Chapel. I love their friendship, and I love the way they run their med bay. 100%.
Well, and going back to Kirk, I don't agree with y'all. I don't. The main reason is because with everything we heard about Kirk in the original series before he was while he was in the academy and so on and so forth, this lines up with exactly how Kirk was supposed to be during that time. With the few little excerpts we get of in the original series of how Kirk was described before he became captain, and so on and so forth. I think it lines up perfectly, and so I'm loving it all the way.
Like I said, I'm not fully against him. I would like to see a little bit more of the cockiness, But again, as I'm saying, I've been telling myself that he's not there yet. He hasn't been through everything that's going to make him cocky.
Well, I was about to say, in seasons 4 and 5, I think they're going to try and flesh that out a little bit more. Because, they have 2 more seasons to do. Season 4 is all finished up. We're just waiting for it to release. And season 5 is probably in the works as we speak right now. So they've still got quite a bit of room to maneuver. And the final episode is going to end with them starting the 5-year mission that we see in the original series. I don't know if it'll tie directly into Where No Man Has Gone Before, the second pilot, but Strange New Worlds will end with Kirk taking command of the Enterprise and them heading off to where they're supposed to be. So very, very interesting, very interesting. And this will be one we have to come back to quite a bit because the show is still running as we speak. So.
Right, and so and I'm very, very fortunate that we get to do this. When it comes to the new shows coming out, everything we've talked about previously on the podcast has been, it's done, it's over. We could talk about the show as a whole because they've all ended thus far. We haven't gotten to, now we're getting into, hey, here's 2 series that our next 2 episodes are the 2 series that are still running. This is current Trek now, and I'm enjoying this because we do get to keep coming back. By the time we get to Starfleet Academy next week, we'll have 5 episodes.
That sounds right.
I'm sorry?
That sounds right.
Yeah, it's either 4 or 5, 5 or 6, something like that. 4 to 6, somewhere in there. And with them going about 8 episodes per season, we're going to be only about maybe 2/3 to a halfway through season 1 when we do our episode of Starfleet Academy.
Well,
so this is going to be a lot of fun. We've been teased, though, talking about the future of Strange New Worlds. We've been teased Dr. McCoy, that we're going to get Dr. McCoy in this next season 4 or season 5. I can't remember.
Season 5 finale will feature
season 5 finale.
Will feature the original crew of the USS Enterprise from the original series.
Okay.
Like I said, we've gotten castings for McCoy and Sulu. So
okay.
So yeah, no. Thomas Jane will be portraying Dr. Leonard McCoy. For those of you who's
our casting for Sulu?
I don't remember. Mostly because I don't think I'd really seen him in anything. So the actor's name, and I may butcher the shit out of this. The actor's name is Kai Murakami. Of Japanese descent.
Okay, good. Good, because if he wasn't Japanese and they were just putting some random Asian in that role, it's going to piss me off, because Sulu is Japanese. And that is like a whole part of his character.
So, but Chekhov will not be in the series finale of Strange New Worlds.
You see, but I think it would be kind of hilarious, though, to like just have Chekhov, running around. Like, they don't have to name him or anything. Just have a Russian, junior officer somewhere on the ship. In that final episode, and the fans go, "That's Chekhov," which would then fix the plot hole that is Wrath of Khan, where Khan, of course, looks at Chekhov and goes, "You, I know you. I never forget the face."
Well, good point. However, I think officially, Chekhov did not graduate the academy until about halfway through the first season of the original series.
Right.
So.
But my throw-in for that, we've had Cadet Uhura on the Enterprise.
That's true.
Studies.
That's true.
So that is my rebuttal for that. But I definitely understand. Again, I see it.
Right.
Just makes the plot all damn it, but I'm curious, though, to see how. I mean, are we going to eventually see the accident that causes Pike to be in a wheelchair, to be a beeper?
I don't know, because that technically happened right before that episode, or shortly before that episode of the original series.
Right.
Like, it had happened, I think, in like the last year of that episode or something like that.
Right.
So, knowing where we're headed with the end of the show, probably not. But yeah. So yeah, probably don't get to see the accident. We'll probably see Pike kind of come to terms with it. Maybe set up something like that, like for the Menagerie, which is the name of that 2-parter episode that I found out because it was bugging me.
There we go. Yeah.
Because it was bugging the shit out of me and I couldn't figure out what it was. But I think that's more likely to what we'll see is like a setup for the Menagerie rather than the accident itself.
Right. I do love that we got to see Pike, though, on his farm with his horses. Because as we know, Pike is very much a horse guy, a rancher through and through.
Well, not to mention the first
by the cage.
Yeah. Not to mention, we finally get to see the first the first on-screen appearance of the first captain of the Enterprise, Robert April.
Right.
Not his first ever appearance, but his first live-action, like, on-screen appearance.
Yeah. Which that was a lot of fun. That was a good tidbit, a good note. Because a lot of people don't know, when the scripts first started getting written, Captain Pike, Christopher Pike was not the captain of the Enterprise. James T. Kirk was not the name of the captain of the Enterprise. It was Robert April. And so it was, of course, retconned later within the script that, Robert April would give us the ship to Pike. Pike would then give it to Kirk. And so that way, the character that Gene Roddenberry had originally envisioned being Captain of the Enterprise would still live on. And so to see him was pretty cool in a live action appearance. Like I said, Uhura, probably my favorite, though, of our original series cast. That is in Strange Worlds. As I said last week, I know Nichelle would have loved her performance. She does a phenomenal job at playing our favorite communications officer. Personally, I don't think they could have gotten anybody better for the role. And showing how she goes from someone so timid and unsure of herself to the bad bitch that we know that Uhura is, and come the original series forward. It's been a lot of fun. No thanks to, in part, the original chief engineer of the Enterprise, Hammer, who I miss dearly. I love that Andorian son of a bitch. I really do. I missed him. His death irritated the fuck out of me in that first season. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Not only Andorian, but he was also an Anar.
Right.
Which I thought was, I thought that was cool to kind of give that episode of Enterprise a callback with Hammer being an Anar, or however the fuck you're supposed to say. I have no idea. It's spelled weird.
But with all the grief that I had coming into the show, with all the gruff that I had about it, what I knew from Discovery. Watching it with my wife and talking about it with you, kind of got me to that. I'm very glad that I did give it a chance because I have enjoyed it so far. There are a few things that I'm like, we shouldn't see them yet. T'Pring being one of them. I got my beef with T'Pring, but that's all right. Live and let live.
I actually like that aspect. I was kind of glad we got to see more of her.
Yeah. The actress playing T'Pring, dead gorgeous, might I say.
Absolutely.
How Spock could just look at that and go, take it or leave it. What do you mean, Spock?
It's a personality thing that I can absolutely 100% fucking understand. It is a fucking personality thing.
Okay.
Not to mention that T'Pring was the one who decided to end it in that, second season type deal? But, as far as that goes, it creates a nice little love triangle between Chapel, Spock, and T'Pring. And having been in that situation in my life once, it really, I was able to relate with it a lot more. And, I mean, it honestly, it improved my outlook on the show. I already thought it was great, but I'm like, this is fucking awesome at this point to kind of see Spock's journey through all that and so on and so forth. So,
Yeah, I do have to agree. Although, look, when it comes to Pring's personality, yes, she can be kind of a stuck-up bitch, but that's when she's really around her parents. You get her away from her parents.
that's true.
Um, but I do love the little love triangle that they did set up. I mean, of course, it alludes to the budding relationship that we'll see between Chapel and Spock in the original series.
Right.
Which I think is an awesome callback. What they did with Strange New Worlds, for how they're setting it up, how they've gone about, making it its own thing while also trying to set up the original series and do justice to that, kind of makes it feel like the season 3 Picard, where it's, hey, it's goodbye to the TNG cast. And yes, it has the TNG cast in it, but it's its own thing. And we're trying to sum up Picard's story. And while Picard's story should end with that original cast, it's not about the original cast. It's not about the original ship. And I think that was done beautifully, and I think this is being done beautifully all the same. Is while it is about the original Enterprise, while it will end with the original series cast taking over, or well, the crew, I should say, not the cast, but the original crew taking over in our final episode. It's not about that.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they're going about it is very beautiful. All the callbacks, the nods, because technically they're call forwards, but for a lot of them, but for us as fans, they're definitely callbacks because that was done almost 60 years.
Well, I mean, if you want like the biggest like callback ever, look at the original, look at the theme, look at the intro to Strange New Worlds, look at that music, and you can hear a lot of the elements of the original Alexander Courage theme in there. And so you've got that, not to mention certain characters that pop up, certain events that happen are all just callbacks and so on and so forth. That you've got. So, and on that note, mostly because Chris is muted, there was an episode in season, I want to say it was season 1, where I don't remember the name of the episode, but the pirates took over the Enterprise. And they wanted a specific prisoner freed, and that prisoner is my boy Sybok from Star Trek V. I enjoyed the hell out of that callback because I am an avid fan of Star Trek V, as we all know. But so I've been enjoying all the callbacks, and I especially enjoyed that one.
I will say the Sybok one, at least they kind of retconned that a little bit. And showed kind of why Spock does not talk to his best friends, McCoy and Kirk, about his brother.
Mm-hmm.
Or half brother, I should say. But kind of showing that, which kind of it okayed me a little bit with Star Trek V. Again, my biggest grief is I have Southern Baptist religious trauma. And so that movie being all about God just irritates the fuck out of me. But again,
my mother hates that movie for
like
whatever
the camp
reason.
the camp scene that we start and end the movie with are some of my favorite scenes in Star Trek ever. Because you really in those scenes, you really get to see the friendship between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy just blossom and how they really are, when duty does not call. But no, I love Anson Mount as Pike. I think personally, he gives me a real good. He gives me the kind of the Pike that we got with the Kelvin universe. He kind of brings that, that to the role. He, the way Bruce Greenwood brought, where he's serious in the moment, but he can also be a laid back captain that's going to make sure everybody on the ship is having a good time, and but they're still getting their jobs done, and he's still going to take care of business. With Pike at the helm, you're in good hands. It's like having Allstate car insurance. You're in good hands, and it. That was not a shameless plug. Just an absolute perfect way to throw in a hell of a quote from a commercial. But yeah, I mean, it was. The way he plays Pike, the way he portrays Pike is very. I am in love with it, and I cannot wait to see the episode. The final episode. I'm going to be sad about it, but I'm going to love it at the same time where we get to see Kirk actually get handed the Enterprise from Pike. Going to be a lovely moment because we only ever got that in the Kelvin timeline movies, anyways. Other than that, we never really saw Pike. We saw Pike fucked up in the chair, and that was it. We saw the cage. And that was it. We didn't really get to see who Pike was and really get to know about him. And so getting to tell his story, if they were going to go back in time, I'm glad they did it with Pike. Mm-hmm. His later life before the accident. And showing us possibly one of the greatest captains to ever be a captain in Starfleet history. Because as everybody knows, when you're growing up in Starfleet, when you're growing up in the TNG era, you always hear about, when you're growing up in Kirk's era, you always hear about Archer and, of course, Zefram Cochrane. When you're growing up in TNG, you always hear about Kirk and Pike and Zefram Cochrane. And then you get around to Deep Space Nine. Of course, Picard has now become this legend himself, and now his stories are being told. And Janeway, would also hear about Picard time. So again, getting to see Pike and who he was, and what makes him a legendary captain, and what put him on the flagship of Starfleet. Why he got that seat versus anybody else before Kirk. Get to see the crew. I love who. I could see her. I could see her face. I can't remember her name. Our helmsman of the Enterprise.
Oh, Lieutenant Ortegas.
Ortegas, yes. I love her through and through. My absolute favorite character, because she kind of reminds me, her character kind of reminds me of Sulu's character, the way Sulu is written in the Kelvin timeline. I am a badass pilot. Yeah, I'll get us through fucking anything. Fucking watch this. You need someone to thread the needle? Fucking I'll thread the needle, bitch. I'll thread it more than anybody else can thread it, all right? Look, watch this. The gruff, absolute just cockiness that a pilot should have. I love it. Because growing up in the military family, growing up around pilots, because my dad worked on aircraft. Some of his best friends in the military were pilots.
Yeah.
I know how a fighter pilot acts. I know how those guys are, right? And they're all the same. They're cocky as shit. And you kind of love them for it. Like, sometimes it'll piss you off, but you love them for it. And I think that's what a helmsman needs. I think that's what a pilot needs in Starfleet. You got to be a little bit cocky because, look, there's only one reason you're on that bridge. That's because you proved you could be there. Mm-hmm. And you're not just on any bridge in Starfleet. You're on the flagship. The reason you're on the flagship is you were deemed the best. And I think a level of cockiness needs to be brought to that role. And Ortegas has it. And it's not, it's not for, in the first couple episodes, while we're still getting to learn everybody, it's like, okay, look, you're a brand new character. Shut the fuck up. You shouldn't be that cocky. But you realize very quickly in that second episode, okay, no, this is why she's that cocky, and she deserves to be that cocky. So, I love that. I love that. Benga, is he going to be my favorite Doctor? No. McCoy still holds that spot tenfold for me. But I love Mbenga. I think he brings something to he has a. I will say I believe he's got a better bedside manner than McCoy does. I'll give him that.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. That's not hard to do.
The only thing I give him Mbenga, I love the shit out of him. I will say the first couple of seasons, having his daughter trapped in the transporter, trying to figure out how to get her out of there. As a father myself, who would do just about anything for his kids, that really spoke to me. What would I do in that same situation? And then finding a way to bring her peace, but knowing that it wasn't, I wouldn't get to see her anymore. What would I have done in that situation?
Absolutely.
As a father, I hate to think about that. That episode was a very hard one for me. For that exact reason. But overall, I think Omega made the right choice, because it let her be. It let her be. She gets to live now and not just be stuck in a transporter buffer. But of course, just this overwhelming, it's a win. It's a lose-lose, but win-win situation at the same time. Your daughter gets to live, win. You get to know that she'll always be safe, win. But you don't get to watch her grow up. That's a loss. You don't get to have her with you anymore. That's a massive loss. And so, it's a very hard choice, but I think they did it wonderfully. So.
Yeah, no, I would 100% agree with that.
All right, John. I hate to do this to you. I'm gonna mute and turn my camera off for a minute. I'm gonna get them set up as best as I can.
You're good.
So that I can get situated. So give me a couple minutes and have fun trying to control the crowd.
Okay. But yeah, no, I would 100% agree with the points that Chris just brought up. Oh hell, I lost my train of thought. One of the other things I am excited for, as far as end of the season goes, is I think there's a decent chance that we are going to see the original, and I mean original, Constitution class. Because Star Trek Picard, as we, they have a original Constitution class sitting in their, fleet museum. So I think there is a very good chance that once Kirk gets the Enterprise, it will have gone through the refit to make it the classic Constitution class, that classic Matt Jeffries design that we all love so much. So yeah, so you got a lot of fun there. Hmm. So, as far as that goes, let's see, what else? Da, 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 da. Hmm.
Okay,
Oh,
let's
goody.
try it this way. We'll see what we got. Sorry to leave you high and dry like that. Okay. Trying to make this as easy as I can with my kids. Um, this episode, and then of course Saturday with Nerdstown is going to be an absolute bitch. Um, but hopefully it's just a one time thing. All right. You know, on ship design though, you were talking about the bridge design. Um,
No,
I
but
am not
yes.
against it. I'm
No,
not against it.
I love the bridge design.
I think because again we know that overtime is going to modernize, right? There's no ifs ands or buts about that. It's going to have to modernize because one, to build a setback that way would almost cost just as to rebuild the bridge the way it was in, let's say, Next Generation Relics or the original series for that matter. You're talking about you'd have it would almost take as much money to build that as it did for them to build their version of the bridge. And you know, with the newer audiences that they're trying to reach, I don't think it would do as well, personally. So I think they brought it up to a modern standard without overly doing it, so that way both sets of fans could enjoy it. It could grab the attention of the new fans, and the older fans could be like, "Hey, I know that design," and not be too upset with how it looks. Like I said, personally, I like the design choice.
Yeah.
Also, Carter, welcome back. I hope my warp core is doing a lot better now. Everything solid down there. We good?
I had to play taxi service, so yeah, I'm here now.
All right. uh, but no, I mean, if they do go back to that design for the final episode when they hand it over to Kirk, I'm gonna be ecstatic. I'm gonna say it. I'll be absolutely ecstatic
Well, I mean,
because
like I said, because everybody was kind of afraid, like with Discovery and Strange New Worlds coming out, that they had completely retconned the original Constitution class, the one we saw in the original series, and so on and so forth. However, Star Trek Picard, in that third season, we see a classic Matt Jeffries Constitution class starship sitting there.
right.
So I think there's a very good chance that by the time that Kirk takes over the Enterprise, it will have reached that particular design point and be looking like the Constitution class we all know and love.
Right.
Externally, if not internally.
Right. But again, even if they don't, like I said, it's not too far off that people should be getting mad. I mean, I understand a little bit of the grief, but at the same time, I look at it as like, okay, when they did it for Relics, that bridge was, one, everyone knows that at the end of 1969, when the show was canceled for the second time, and they were officially done, that was officially it. There was nothing else that was going to be done. They scrapped it. They got rid of it because at that point in time, pieces of shows weren't held on to. They were repurposed and reused all the time because nothing before had gotten this way. You're talking the very first show. I mean, Star Trek has a lot of firsts, and that's what I love about it. Is Star Trek can sit there and forever say, "We had the first on-screen interracial kiss. We had the first fandom." Star Trek fans started the convention circuit. Without Star Trek, conventions, they might have still happened, but they would not be as big as they are now without the Star Trek fans, without Star Trek. Contemporary TV or episodic TV. TV was very much if you miss something in the episode, if you're watching a show, your friends are watching the show, and it's called I Love Lucy. And I tell you, I Love Lucy is really, really good. You should check it out. You could start watching with the new episode that came out that week and would understand everything about the show, wouldn't miss anything. You could jump right in. And Star Trek started a trend of you couldn't do that anymore. If you tune in on the wrong episode of the original series or the wrong episode of Next Generation, you miss the whole first half of what's going on, and you have no idea what to do.
I don't know if I'd agree with that.
To a point, though.
There are some episodes where you kind of need to see what came before just a little bit. In the original series, I'd say absolutely not, unless you're watching the two-parter. You could pretty much jump into any episode of the original series, and you'll be fine. Next Generation, I'll say a little bit more, just because there are some episodes that do tie back into previous episodes. Deep Space Nine, yes.
Like I said, it's not that it started with the original series, but it started with Trek. Trek started that trend,
right,
in TV. One of the other things that Trek started was, of course, multiple series within the same universe. We never saw that before.
Mm-hmm.
The closest we got before that was, well, no, there wasn't. Star Wars came after Star Trek, and that proved that movies could do the same thing. And then, of course, because of Star Wars is why we got the Star Trek movies. Because, 20th Century Fox kicking ass over there. Paramount's, hey, don't forget about us. What the fuck you guys got? Star Trek. We got Star Trek. How about a movie? But still, Star Trek has so many firsts. And coming back to, at that point in time, saving the bridge wasn't a fucking thing. So they had to fully rebuild that bridge on a different lot there at Paramount for the episode Relics.
Well, they did not rebuild the entire thing. They rebuilt the section that Scotty sits at, and that's it.
Yeah. Right. The rest of it was all, green screened or photos.
Yeah,
big giant posters.
It was green screened. Yeah.
But the pieces they did build, they did keep though. They I don't remember what happened with them. They did not tear them down after that. I mean, now by the time Next Generation came around, we started keeping props. It was a thing of, okay, keep your fucking prop because fans are gonna want them. There's gonna be a Hollywood museum that's gonna want them eventually. This, that, and everything else. So yeah, again, modernizing the bridge isn't bad. We've seen it before. As the shows have gone on, as the series have gone on, sure, you could say they're different ships, so technically it doesn't fucking count, but it fucking counts. You weren't gonna sit there and make the Galaxy Bridge look like the original series bridge with just a minor update or like a bigger section. You modernized it for the 80s. The Defiant Bridge, you modernized it for the 90s. The Voyager Bridge, you modernized it for the 90s. Enterprise. Okay, by all means, the Enterprise Bridge is more technically advanced than the original series bridge in the way that it looks. So modernizing that bridge for the look that it has in Strange New World is not far-fetched. Like I said, I don't mind it. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's got the right colors, and that's what I care about. Technically, with it being Pike's Bridge, it should not be red. It should be gray. But that's a different story for a different day, for those of you that have seen The Cage. Um, the uniform, though. Let's talk about that. A lot of people have been discussing the uniform. I've heard good things. I've heard bad things about the uniform. Personally, my bit on the uniform for Strange New Worlds, I thoroughly enjoy it. I think it pops. I really do. Um, the bands, I wish they weren't all the same color as the shirt, so they could stick out a little bit more, like on the red engineering uniform. Uh, but I don't hate it. I personally, I love the design of them. Uh, the badge looks beautiful. Um, that's just my personal bit on them.
What was it? Huh? I missed it.
The uniforms,
Which uniforms?
the Strange New
Oh,
World uniform.
yes. I would agree.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was looking up the fate of that that little bitty piece they built.
Oh yeah,
That one was dismantled.
it was. Oh, okay. Well, I
They
know the
did
chair wasn't. I know the chair for a fact wasn't. The chair ended up going to Michael Okuda
right.
as a gift.
Right. That's the only thing they saved. Everything else was dismantled.
Right.
And it wasn't a very big it was not a very big oh damn it. It was not a very big deal.
No. No, I believe they built just the con where Sulu and Chekhov sit, the chair
Chair,
where Scotty sits, and then a couple pieces of railing.
yeah, and the engineering station where Scotty sat. Like,
right.
Here.
I no longer have the tablet, so I won't be able to see it. But
Well, I was just
yeah.
gonna send it in the chat for this.
Okay, yeah.
So I sent the little picture which shows what they built for that episode.
Right.
Everything but that chair was dismantled.
But still, um fuck, my whole mind just went blank.
You were talking about the uniforms.
That's
Yeah,
about
the
usual for you,
uniform.
isn't it?
Huh?
Your mind going blank. That's about usual for you, isn't it? Though?
Yeah. I mean, even more so that I don't have help tonight with the kids. They're actually right behind me. So if you guys can hear Miss Moni, my bad. If not, consider yourself lucky. I have to.
I'd say I'm sorry, but I'm really not.
Yeah, you like to see me in pain and tortured.
I do.
So
It
I
gives me
stick here
pleasure.
at the war for. But if anybody's going to die of cancer in this century, it's going to be you.
I'll figure it out somehow.
But I have enjoyed some of the alternate universe, the alternate universe episode that we got with a different James T. Kirk, and then Prime La'an Singh, going back and getting stuck in Toronto in the current year. Of course.
Which, if you ask me, I think it's a callback to William Shatner's origins because William Shatner is Canadian.
Right. I thoroughly enjoyed that episode, and then going up and seeing the door marked con, and on having to, do that. Can I rewrite my family history if I get him out of here?
If you just
Yeah.
Maybe Hitler.
But you know, I mean,
And there's
would
my
it have
next
been
visit
better
to
for the
HR.
universe? I mean, would it have been better for all of the universe? Probably.
Probably.
Yeah, I'll say so. But not for the Star Trek universe, because then what do we have for Wrath of Khan? We ain't got shit. There is no Khan. Space Seed's out the door. Wrath of Khan's out the door. What's the next movie in line? Search for Spock. No, it's not. Because guess what didn't happen? Khan. Khan didn't happen, so Spock didn't die.
I think it would have changed it very, very significantly.
Yeah.
As far as like how the eugenics wars went and everything. I don't think it would have changed it too significantly, but I think it would have changed it very significantly in that particular context.
Right. But you know, I mean, who knows? We might never have gotten Robert April, Captain Pike, or James T. Kirk on the Bridge of the Enterprise. It might have just been some, loser named, Tim.
Or Dave.
Right.
Or Chris.
Tim Davis. I'm Captain Tim Davis, Captain of the Enterprise.
Jeez.
Okay, and fire torpedo. Fuck you, Tim.
I think
sorry for all the Tims out there.
No, he's not.
I'm not.
But that was a very good scene. And personally, I love the little love trope they've got going on between Kirk and La'an. And I'll tell you why. Because it just brings me so much joy to know that he's gonna bang his fucking mortal enemy's great granddaughter. And it's like, if he actually does it, it would be so good to remake Wrath of Khan right about now so he can look Khan in his fucking face and go, your great granddaughter's pussy tastes great.
Jesus Christ.
Just to piss him off some more.
Jesus fuck.
That's HR, is it?
Hey, fucker, we're already here. Might as well get them all in while we're here.
Yeah. Captain, I have a priority message from you from Starfleet HR. They want to speak to you in your ready room personally.
You'll be there shortly.
That's not what I said.
Yeah, that shit doesn't work in this century with instantaneous communications. Nice try, though.
But again, I fucking as someone who is petty, as someone who is truly petty, has always been petty and finds new ways to be petty. I love that. I love it wholeheartedly, knowing that man is about to fuck up his girlfriend's great grandfather. Like, it just brings me so much joy to know he's gonna bang her and kill him.
Well, I mean, he doesn't know that yet, but
Yeah, he doesn't know that yet, but it's funny.
Well, I enjoyed, and I know I think Chris has problems with this. I can't remember if he does or not. He probably does. I enjoyed the Carol Marcus name drop that they had in, I want to say, season 2.
It was season 2, and I had a problem with it at first, but then I went back and I started doing my research, and I was like, okay, I really actually cannot have a problem with this because
I started doing the math, pulls out a calculator.
I did. I legitimately had to, because I watched Wrath of Khan shortly after watching that episode. Because I was like, there's no way. Because sure, he would kind of know Carol, but he's not in a situationship with Carol yet. And she can't be pregnant yet because he's a lieutenant. And he goes through almost all of his 5-year mission and then some before he finds out about David, who is 20 at the time. But no, if you go back about 20 years, it would be right there. I mean, it's right there. So the only thing I can think of is that in the future.
Well, not to mention he knew David existed.
He did, but he didn't. Again,
right.
It's not like Picard, where Picard sure as shit did not know he existed. He did, but he wasn't really allowed to. So he just kind of like stepped back. It was like, yeah, I've got a son, but like, that's all I know. You know. So that's why I'm like, he doesn't really know about him. He knows, but he doesn't know. You know.
Like, he knows he has a son, but that's about it.
Right. But like I said, the only thing that would make sense, though, the only thing that makes sense to me is that there in the future, you could find out pretty much right after conception that you are pregnant. That would be the only way, though. Like, in all honesty, doing all the math and everything, that is the only way for him to know that Carol's already pregnant.
Well, not to mention that he'd probably been on assignment for a while, because he did mention that she was on Starbase 1.
Right.
So he had probably been on an assignment for a while, and communications being what they were back then, he probably wouldn't have found out for at least a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, I do enjoy the Carol Marcus callback because, again, when you get to Wrath of Khan, Carol Marcus, who we hadn't really before met,
Or even heard
seems
of.
to be such a big part of who Kirk is and Kirk's life. You learn that in Wrath of Khan, and then Search for Spock, and then Undiscovered Country because of the repercussions of the Klingons killing Kirk's son.
Yeah.
And so you find out how much Carol Marcus means to Kirk.
Well, not to mention, if you read the novelization of Star Trek VI, it becomes an even bigger part of who Kirk is, because Carol Marcus is pretty much on her deathbed by the time 6 comes around. So,
damn, okay.
And it plays more into why Kirk still hates the Klingons for killing his son.
Yeah.
But like it gives him more like justification for being racist, I guess. Which I don't mean that, but you get it.
We've had that conversation. We've had that conversation, John. Look, he was racist in that moment, but at the same time, he had every right to be.
Oh, absolutely.
That is like talking to someone. That is like talking to someone who went through the Cold War, and then as the fucking Berlin Wall fell and was told he had to be best friends with a fucking Russian who offed his fucking son. No way.
Yeah.
Fuck the Russians. You know, he was totally justified in being racist because, again, you have to realize what he'd gone through. You know, you have to realize what someone goes through in war, that when you get on the other side of it and peace talks start with someone you've only known as your enemy your entire life, who has taken so much from you. You know, friends, crew members, you know,
his
family,
his son, his ship,
ship.
His goddamn ship. We can't forget that, and his biggest love of all.
His time that he'll never get back. And then now that's all just got to be water under the bridge. Nah, fuck that shit. So again, yeah, he was fucking racist, but he had every right to be.
I said that, and I'm like, ooh, that sounds bad. I said it, and I was like, ooh, that sounds bad. Is there a better way I could put that? Prejudice. Prejudice. That's the word I think I wanted to use, was prejudice, not the
Look, it does sound bad, but it's like going out to eat with your grandfather who fought in Nam, and some Vietnam guy walks by. Goddamn fucking Grandpa, it's okay. It's okay. I know, Grandpa. You know, like, look.
Settle down, Grandpa. Let's get you back to bed.
Like, do we love Grandpa any less? No.
Granted.
But look, we gotta understand what Grandpa went through.
Grandpa's seen some shit.
Grandpa went to Nam. He's seen some things. Lieutenant Dan ain't got no legs. But no, I like I said, there's not much that I have beef with when it comes to Strange New Worlds. Like I said, there are a couple things that I would change a little bit, but not too much. Let's talk about Scotty. From what I've seen, I've only had Scotty for about, I think, 2.5 episodes.
Yeah.
Towards the end of season 2. God, this guy looks like James Doohan. I mean, look, he doesn't look exactly like him, and of course, you're not gonna get someone that looks exactly like James Doohan, because the only motherfucker that looks exactly like James Doohan is not his first son Montgomery, it's his other son Chris, which Chris Doohan has played Scotty before. Yes, we know that. He's been in Star Trek and around Star Trek, but what I love now Chris Doohan can play. Now Chris Doohan can come back and play Scotty if we do another movie universe, okay? And we go for the older Scotty, right? Chris Doohan can then come in and play Scotty, look just like his father again. Put him in that engineering uniform. I want to see Chris Doohan in the engineering vest, okay? What I love and what I have heard is that Chris Doohan actually helped cast Scotty for Strange New Worlds.
I believe it.
He had a hand in it because he's already been working on the show. He's a producer on the show. Has been from the jump. He's been a producer on a lot of Star Trek projects since one of the Kelvin movies. I can't remember if it was In the Darkness or 2009.
I think it was the first one because he was in it.
Yeah. Well, I know he's in the first one, but I can't remember if he was producing or if he's brought it as just like a hi, he's there.
I don't remember, yeah.
But like I said, it's one of the Kelvin movies. He started helping produce Star Trek content. He's been on ever since. So I believe he had a hand. I'm pretty certain he had a hand in casting the new Scotty.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, you can't get mad at the Scotty casting because James Doohan's son said he was okay. Again, I've made this same kind of argument last week on Nerdstown podcast, where the cast of Kratos, a lot of people have been upset about the cast of Kratos. You can't be, because Kratos himself said it was okay. He loves the casting. So same thing with Scotty here. Now, a lot of people are like, well, he doesn't sound like Scotty. Well, that's because James Doohan wasn't fucking Scottish. He was goddamn Canadian putting on the worst Scottish accent you ever heard in your fucking life, okay? This motherfucker is Scottish, and so that is a real Scottish accent. So no, he's not going to sound like James Doohan.
I still prefer the impression, the worst impression by James Doohan.
Yeah, I do too.
The over-exaggerated impression, I should say.
Yeah.
Not that he did bad with it, but...
But, again, for people getting upset that it doesn't sound like James Doohan, of course not. This dude is Scottish. He is 100% Scottish. He is Scottish-born. Okay? Came to the U.S. to be an actor. Scottish-born. Okay? He sounds Scottish, okay? That's what an actual Scottish accent sounds like. You want to talk about you can't understand them? No shit.
There's a reason.
But at the same time, I love it because, later on in the original series and in the movies, there are those times where you'll hear Scotty just going off in the background and, Kirk or somebody says, man, half the time you can't understand the bastard. And it's like, that's very true of a guy with a Scottish accent. I've got a friend from Scotland. That motherfucker, look, I can't understand him sober. I get a few drinks in, drinking with this motherfucker, and I really can't understand him. Okay? There have been so many times I've thought he said some of the most off-the-wall shit, and probably did, but it's not what I thought he said, considering his fucking accent. And how drunk the two of us were. But I love it. I love that they're already kind of, adding into, you can't understand Scotty half the time. He'll get into the middle of his engineering mumbo jumbo. He'll tell you what needs to happen, and they're just like, yeah, okay, whatever, whatever you think is best. I have no idea what you're saying, but go for it. And then it fixes the day. And the next thing, Scotty, you're a miracle worker. Yeah, damn right he is.
Well, and as far as Scotty goes, I'm really starting to enjoy the rapport that him and Pelia are getting now. Mm-hmm. I just think it's interesting, seeing as how Pelia, a former academy instructor, now chief engineer on the Enterprise, is interacting with the future chief engineer of the Enterprise, and he's kind of learning that miracle worker's subroutine of multiplying repair estimates by about a factor of 4.
4, yeah. And shoot, that brings me up to we had just started Search for Spock with Hannah, and Kirk and Scotty are getting there, to coming into the space dock, talking about how long the repair is going to take, and Kirk just looks at him and goes, "Have you always multiplied everything by 4?"
Mr. Scott, have you always multiplied your repair estimates by a factor of 4?
Aye, sir.
Aye, sir. How else do you expect me to keep my reputation as a miracle worker?
And Hannah just busted out laughing in that moment. And I'm like, yeah, that's why, again, when we get to Relics, you're really going to enjoy him talking to Geordi. You didn't tell him how long it would actually take, did you?
That's what we call buffer time.
But, like I said, I really haven't been unimpressed with any of the casting so far. I will say my biggest gripe, though, is with George Kirk. George Samuel Kirk, James Kirk's brother. He should not be on the Enterprise, let alone in Starfleet. As we know per an episode in season 2 of the original series, he went to study science. He is sciences, which is, yes, he's a science officer. That's great. At least they kept that right. But he never truly joined Starfleet. He just works with Starfleet, kind of like Carol Marcus and the Science Station Regular 1 in Wrath of Khan.
Mm-hmm.
They work alongside Starfleet, but they are not themselves Starfleet. So that is my biggest gripe with the series. I will say that. But at the same time, I love that we get those moments of brotherly love between them, and it sets up for why they don't talk as much, and we really get to hear, and having been a sibling myself, okay, having siblings myself, I wholeheartedly enjoy those moments, because the heart-to-heart episode that George and Jim have at the bar that one night in season 2, and Jim acknowledges, look, we have 2 different lives. We're 2 different people. We might have been born and raised in the same house, but we were raised 2 different ways. As a sibling, there's no one on this earth that understands that more than your sibling. Because while you may be born to the same parents, raised by the same parents, they parented you in 2 different ways. And so, thus, you had 2 different raisings. You had 2 different upbringings. You were not going to be the same. While certain things might be the same between the 2 of you, you could sit there and say, well, yeah, Dad was an asshole because of this. Dad was always this way. You're totally different from your sibling, through and through. And that what makes everybody, of course, different people entirely. But that moment just really gave me, satisfaction and clarity. That it's not just, me and my siblings. My wife, when she saw that episode, she actually reached out to her sister and started talking to her sister. And her sister and her, they have 2 different, upbringings altogether. But they can actually talk them out. They actually are able to talk to each other, unlike me and my siblings. But, sorry, hold on, guys. Okay. Sorry, My Little Pony keeps going off in the background, and it's throwing me off. But no, it gives that gratification, that solace. But my wife and her sister, that's where I was at. My wife and her sister, they're able to talk, and I think watching that episode, Hannah got a lot of clarity, as much as I did, in that same moment. That, a few days after watching that, we got to, she sat down with her sister and requested that I take the kids off, so that her and her sister could have a heart to heart. And, we've talked to her sister more in the past few months than we have. She's talked to her sister more in the past few months than she has in the last 5 years we've been together.
Yeah.
Because now, again, for my wife's sake, she lost her mom when she was, almost 13. And her sister, of course, was I think 10, 9 or 10 at that point in time.
Yeah.
Right on the verge of the years in which you need your mom. As a woman, you would need your mother or a motherly figure because you're about to go through all these changes that your dad, while being a good man, cannot help you get through because he does not have the same parts that you do. So he cannot effectively help like your mother can. And that really split them down the middle. That pain. Huh?
Was that a hard age for you to go through getting,
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. But that really definitely split, my wife and her sister. And for them to work it out all these years later, and again within the past few months, it's been fun to see, and I think Star Trek in a lot of ways is helping, whether my wife realizes it or not. And of course, my sister or my sister-in-law moving out, going to college, and becoming her own woman is also definitely helping in that area as well, because she's not, at home anymore. And of course, as a lot of people know, once you move away from home, that's when you really start to become who you are. But yeah, so as much as I don't like the fact that they added George Kirk to the Enterprise and to Starfleet, I will say the added addition to that out factors when they have those moments between Jim and George. It does help that they add those moments in for me not to be as pissed off as I want to be about it.
Well,
so
and here's the other thing. This is still before Kirk takes command of the Enterprise. Well, before Kirk takes command of the Enterprise. So I think they still have enough room for, say, something to happen to where he leaves the Enterprise, where he leaves Starfleet, and he goes to pursue his civilian career, as far as that goes.
Right. But getting to meet George Kirk, though, I love George Kirk as a character. I truly do.
Oh, absolutely.
He is phenomenal to watch, and it just breaks my heart knowing that he has to die.
Right?
Like, you think him die in this series? No, we don't see his death in this series. Hell, we don't even technically see his death in the original series. We just show up and he's already dead. But it
and
just
here's
breaks
the thing.
My heart. He has to die.
They kind of forgot he existed after that episode. He's never brought up again, ever.
No.
Because even in Star Trek V, like in one of the more heartfelt scenes, like towards the end of the movie, Kirk was like, "I lost a brother once. I was lucky I got him back." And it's like, dude, you had a fucking brother, and he fucking died, you dipshit.
Well, you know what? And look, we'll say it like this: Kirk was wearing. You good, Bubba? Okay. Kirk was wearing a ring in that scene, so who's to say, getting him back was look, he might have been ashes wrapped around Kirk's finger,
Good point.
Let's just
my God, he was wearing a ring. He forgot to take it off, didn't he?
Yes, he was.
God damn, I forgot about that. I'll have to look at that again more closely. I forgot about that damn ring.
Dude, I sit there and I can't believe I didn't share this to you. I saw it on TikTok the other night because there was another Star Trek podcast that I follow on TikTok that was talking about this. And And so somebody brought up the ring. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Riverside.
Sorry, guys. My daughter woke up my son, so now I gotta try to get him back to sleep real quick. But yeah, like I said, I'm
remember
curious.
children being allowed on the bridge.
Huh?
I don't remember children being allowed on the bridge.
My ship, I can do what I want.
This is a blatant violation of Starfleet protocol.
Tell the Admiral. But like I said, I'm waiting to see where the show goes. Like I said, I still have not seen anything of season 3 yet. We've had a couple fun episodes. I will say that the episode in which we lose Mbenga's daughter, we'll lose her on the ship, but she, gets to be free. The fairy tale episode was probably one of my favorites. I enjoyed the hell out of that. And it's like, something I would love to see is I would love a Star Trek show set, around the TNG era or past that, where they have a holodeck and just have the cast. Like every so often, like the TNG crew used to play poker. I would love for the cast to just dress up and go to the holodeck and play D&D. I think that would be the coolest fucking thing. Because you know how badass it would be to play a D&D campaign where you're not rolling dice. It's no longer a tabletop game. It's now a holodeck game.
You're not rolling the character, you are the character.
Mm-hmm. Like you can set up the DM to be the fucking computer, so that way you're like totally fucked.
A small correction that I would like to make that about something you said earlier, Chris. Star Trek was actually not the first show to ever do episodic shows.
Was it not?
They were the first to perfect it, but they were actually not the first. Lost in Space did it first.
Yeah,
okay.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Because Lost in Space came out a year before Star Trek started. They started in the episodic episodes, but they ended up going more towards serialized, and Star Trek perfected
Right. Okay. Okay.
the episodic.
Give me a second. I'm going to get you laid down, okay? Let's go lay down, Bubba, okay? Okay.
And here we all sit in silence.
Warning, warp core breach a lot sooner than you think.
To be fair, I have a reason. I've got kids I got to take care of real quick.
I just don't have much to say. Why?
I don't know. I'm filling up the I'm filling up the void of no sound.
Okay, Carter, it is now the episode where we could talk about this. So, your full thoughts on Strange New Worlds?
For me, I'm kind of split. Like I'm fully enjoying it. There's not too many things that I have major gripes about. I actually like that they brought in George Kirk to Starfleet. They brought him into the Enterprise because for me, we've always seen how Kirk is. We've always heard about how he grew up and everything with his dad and what he went through. And I like that we're now getting the other side to that coin, seeing how his brother was raised. Because, like you said, no two siblings are raised the same way. So it gives us a bit more of the backstory into Kirk's childhood, into how he grew up, the things he had to go through, and the experiences that he got, while also still giving that bit of character to George Kirk, because it's not just a carbon copy of Kirk a little bit older. You know?
Mhm.
I will say, however, I personally don't really care for Pelia. To me, I don't think that she doesn't fit on the Enterprise. Is she just... When I think of a chief engineer, I think of somebody who's, yes, a little laid back, but their entire mindset is around, what can I do to make this ship better? They're always fixing something. There's always a problem for them to jump into, and it just feels to me like she's just stuck in that teacher mindset of, well, what would you do? How would you fix the issue? I will say I kind of enjoy the banter between her and Scotty, but something about her rubs me the wrong way. That I would say that is probably my biggest gripe, is I don't really care too much for her. Everything else I like the uniforms, I like the way the story's going. I love the fact that we're getting to see not only Kirk's, starting point, but we're also seeing his time under Pike. They hinted at it in the Kelvin timeline about how he looked up to Pike and everything. Pike was the one that brought him into Starfleet originally, but we don't really get a lot of anything else to it. And now we're getting to see those moments where they're interacting, where, Pike is taking Kirk under his wing and saying, all right, I'm going to show you the ropes. I'm going to show you what it's like being a captain out here.
Mm-hmm. I will say one thing I want to happen in our final episode when they hand Kirk the keys to the Enterprise. As we know, Leonard Nimoy's Spock tells Zachary Quinto's Spock in the Kelvin timeline, or tells Chris Pine's Kirk in the Kelvin timeline universe. He asks, "Did my dad see me?" And he said he got to see you become captain, and was very proud of you when you got assigned to the Enterprise, to captain the Enterprise. I want to see that moment. I do, because we've never gotten that before. And with this being the birth of that crew, in the very final episode, I want to see George Kirk Sr. watch Kirk get the keys to the Enterprise and become a captain. I would love to see that because I think it is a very vital point, as well as who Kirk is. As much as this show is very much who Pike is, and how, as Carter said, how everybody's becoming everybody. That is very much a key point on who Kirk is, and I think if that's not shown in the final episode, I'll be a bit disappointed, to be honest.
However, I think Shatner is a little bit too old to play Kirk's dad.
A little.
But, I'm sure they could find. I'm sure they could find somebody to step in to play Kirk's dad.
Well, yeah.
Well, you know who would be actually the proper age for it? Chris Pine.
Oh God!
And with the way Chris Pine looks right about now, he could play George Kirk Sr. I'm just saying, let's throw this out there.
That'd be one hell of a mind fuck for me. I don't think I could do that.
He could, but I see that point and I raise you another. Eric Dane.
Who the hell is Eric Dane?
Look up the last ship.
Hold on. I've got the tablet back, so let me look this up real quick. Come on.
Have it be Nathan Fillion.
Well, no, but I kind of see where Carter's going with Eric Dane. Eric Dane very much looks like who is playing both George and Jim Kirk right now.
That's part of it, but he's also he's played a lot of military roles, so he would know. He would have that hard stance of the dad that Kirk is supposed to be having.
I don't see it, but whatever.
I'm not fully against it. Like I said, I doubt. In all honesty, I doubt they're probably going to put that in the show anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think it's going to be more or less like an outward view, and you're just supposed to assume that one of the older gentlemen in the crowd is George Kirk Sr. Probably the way they're going to go about it. But it would be cool to have, an actual send-off, And like I said, Star Trek has been great for linking one show to the next, one series to the other. I think it would be a pretty cool, bring in the Kelvin timeline to say, hey, it's Chris Pine, good job, Jim. I'm proud of you. Now take her, now go. Always remember, if you don't know where to go, second start to the left, straight on till morning. Give me that. If there's going to be a scene between them, if those aren't the words he's sent off with, I'll be pissed. But
I think even better have Pike say that.
Right, yeah, or have Pike say it, right. Or at the very least, again, another good Kelvin timeline nod would be, them just on the bridge. There's no real ceremony that we see, but Kirk in the chair, Spock in behind him, standing beside him. Where should we go? Well, as a mission of this variety has never been tried before, I defer to your good judgment.
Except that line wouldn't fit.
True, not now, because technically, Strange New Worlds Pike is on a 5-year mission with the Enterprise. So yeah,
Not only that, but
I was about to say,
you also have to remember the fact of Kirk and Spock haven't spent any time together yet.
Yes, they have.
They've been on a few missions, but they don't really know each other yet.
Oh,
right,
they do.
The brotherly camaraderie is not there just yet. We're building to it.
They shared a mind meld. They know pretty much everything about each other, and they even started to interact like we see them. Yes,
but they haven't gotten to the point where Spock trusts Kirk's judgment.
That I'll accept, but they don't know each other and so on and so forth. That one, no, I won't accept that.
Well, okay. Again, look, you can know everything about somebody and still not know them. All right. So in both ways, you're both correct. Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. They know everything about each other because of the mind meld, but they don't know shit. Okay, they just know what each other's been through. They know the lives that they've led, but they don't know how that affected who they are.
So I think we see the real start of the actual friendship in that episode in season, I want to say 3. Where we see Kirk have to take command of the Farragut because shit just happened.
And while I agree with you that we have seen the start to that relationship, I don't think yet we're to the point of what Chris is wanting that line for.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, by the time we get to season 5, I think we'll be there.
But again,
maybe it depends on how they go with it.
But again, you're both right. That line does not fit at all in this universe because of Pike's 5-year mission. So it's thrown out the window right then and there. But again, I would love to see something for that. Like a where should we go? Second star to the left, straight on to morning. Or Pike saying that to Kirk: if you never know where to go, always point to the second star, straight on to morning. Something along those lines. Or a George Kirk Sr. send-off at the ceremony where he receives the Enterprise. Any of those would be beautiful. However they're going to do it, I know we're going to enjoy it. Because, again, Strange New Worlds has given us the feel of the original series with a feel of the Next Generation as well. A show that built on the streaming service side of a show, rather than the network side of a show, where we don't get as many episodes, but the episodes we do get are longer. It has done a wonderful job of making us well aware of who our characters are, making us fall in love with these characters, and showing growth over time with these characters. So much so that in 8 episodes of the first season, you get to know who Hammer is, fall in love with Hammer, love how Hammer takes Uhura up under his wing, shows her what he knows, teaches her how to start relying on herself and getting her out of her timid, shy shell, all the way up till his death in the last episode, to where it hurts you and hits you so hard that you're like, fuck, we just met this guy. We just met this guy 8 hours ago. Okay, to be real, we don't know that much about Hammer, but we know so much that it hurt to see him go. So like I said, this show has done so much good for Trek moving forward that, it really rewrote the bad taste that I think Discovery put in people's mouths.
Yeah.
This show really rewrote what Star Trek should look like moving forward. I believe because of this show, Picard Season 3 was able to be so successful. Because of this show, Lower Decks was able to pop off the way that it was. Because, again, when you look back at what Discovery gave us those first 2 seasons and then the last 3 in the later timeline, not a lot of people were vibing with it. A lot of people had their major problems with Discovery. And Strange New Worlds brought a lot of those older fans back. Now I know there are people out there, like our dear friend Lumen, whose mother is not willing to watch Strange New Worlds. Cool, baby, go play. His mother's not willing to watch Strange New Worlds because of Discovery. Which fair. There are a lot of people that swore off Star Trek after Discovery because of the bullshit we had to put up with. But for those that came back and were willing to give the rest of it more of a chance, it's definitely rewritten that and shown us hope. So much that I cannot wait to see, what all we get with Strange New Worlds. Like I said, the backstories. One episode I will say that was kind of hard to watch for me as someone dealing with PTSD. The episode where we relive, or the few episodes I should say, I think it was like 2 episodes. It was a 2-parter, where M'Benga and Chapel, they bring on this Klingon ambassador onto the ship. And a Klingon ambassador is a warlord. And one of the worst ones in the Klingon Federation fight, the battle. And the PTSD that M'Benga and Chapel have to fight in that episode. I cannot tell you a better representation of PTSD in current shows today. There have been good ones out there. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I could give you a list, but that one really brought it to a place where if you don't know what PTSD is, or you've never dealt with anybody in your life who has PTSD, you know right then and there what it's like living with PTSD. You can watch those 2 characters and know the different sides of PTSD. The people that can survive with it, the people that can shut it down, realize that they're not back there, and they can snap themselves out of an episode just as quick as that, versus people like me where it's hard to tell when you're back there. It's hard to tell that you're not back there, in that place for whatever caused your PTSD. It's hard to differentiate that you're not there anymore, that you are in a current moment that's far away from that place. Like M'Benga, who just constantly had to rely on Chapel to let him know what was real in those moments, what was really going on, what was truly happening, because he couldn't differentiate whether he was on the battlefield or not. And then, of course, the callback scenes to see what they saw that gave them that horror. Beautifully done, but it was very hard to watch because it was very triggering. I'm not gonna lie. I had to grip Hannah's hand a few times. I had to pause the episodes a couple times and be like, "Hey, please tell me I'm right here. Please tell me I'm okay. Tell me I can leave this room. Tell me I can get up and I can walk outside and breathe fresh air." Because they did it so well. If you'll excuse me, gentlemen, I gotta go grab my daughter real quick. I'll be right back.
Have fun.
On that note, on a happier note, I should say, on a less glum note, what did you think of the musical episode?
Oh, I absolutely loved it.
Okay,
it
good.
Good,
I don't have to kill you.
No, my absolute favorite, though, of that entire episode is listening to Spock sing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I thought it was great.
Because seeing somebody whose entire beat is based in logic having to go through the entire episode singing was just hysterical to me. Because everything in his brain is screaming, "This is not right, make it stop." But he can't. He doesn't know how.
Right.
And then at the end, you have Uhura sitting in front of the communications panel, humming the tune, and everybody just staring at her like,
staring at her like, "Are
Dear
you
God,
fucking
no, please
kidding me?"
don't. Not again. And you can hear the thought just crossing through Spock's mind of, no, please God, no. He's plotting his way to the closest airlock.
Right. No, I enjoyed the hell out of that episode. I thought it was one of the best ones of that particular season. Other than the Lower Decks one. The Lower Decks one really takes it for me. I thought that was hilarious. I was laughing throughout that entire episode.
See, I didn't care for the Lower Decks episode. It felt like it wasn't a necessary episode.
It wasn't. It was just because they wanted to. I think the crossover itself was done absolutely perfectly.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. The crossover itself was done really well, and I did appreciate that. I didn't see the need for the crossover.
Well, the two shows were running concurrently at that time, so I can see why they did it as far as that goes.
Okay, let me add in to both of those real quick. So the musical episode, phenomenal, loved it, absolutely loved it, perfect episode. Now I'm with both of you on the Lower Decks episode. It was beautifully done. I enjoyed the hell out of it, but I'm kind of with Carter. If there had been a better setup for it, I think it would have worked a little bit better. It felt more or less like a quick grab cash type thing.
Yeah,
It took away it took away a bit of authenticity from it for the simple fact of it was just a quick one-off. There's nothing to it kind of thing. You could take this episode or leave this episode, and both shows will be perfectly fine without it. Now, if they had made it to where both shows needed this episode for one reason or another to continue on, like, okay, it could still be a one-off episode, but in the next episode of Strange New Worlds, things they took from the previous episode, from that crossover episode, they're implementing here, or put it towards Lower Decks. The Lower Decks episode that would come out right after that episode of Strange New Worlds. They have to do something with the Cerritos, based off of that or something, or like the episode before, whatever. If they didn't make it just so gimmicky in the way they set it up, it felt gimmicky in the setup. If they would have done it a little bit better, it would have worked a lot more. But it was a really great episode. I did enjoy it. Plus, I just love seeing Jack Quaid in anything. He is a great actor. And live action Boimler, look, a lot of people can voice a character, but when it comes to making that character live action, you really can't use the same person because that same person that provides the voice cannot do the acting live action. Hence why they're a voice actor. Jack Quaid doing both is really great. It proves that how good he really is, both on screen and behind the microphone.
On that note, I'd like to give some points to Tawny Newsome as well.
Yes.
For live action Mariner. And they actually were debating about how to do it because in Lower Decks, Mariner is just a little bit taller than Boimler. However, right. Jack Quaid is quite a bit taller than Tawny Newsome.
Yeah.
I don't remember how they more or less fixed it, but
I'm gonna go with the way they did it for the movie Elf with Will Ferrell. That probably just a little bit of like camera tricks,
a little bit lighting, of camera trickery,
and forced perspective. That's the word I'm looking for. A little bit of forced perspective to make her look a little bit taller than Jack Quaid.
Well, I remember they did something specific. I just can't remember what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, both of those. And then of course you get to the end of that episode and the animated
The animated or Strange New Worlds.
was pretty great. I enjoyed the fuck out of that. Some of my other favorite episodes of Strange New Worlds, Spock turns human the moment he's supposed to meet T'Pring's family.
Yeah.
My God, that was
hilarious.
I've always loved, even in the original series and the movies, where we get to see Spock be a little bit more human. Where he gets to explore his emotions and things like that. So to see him be fully human, take away the Vulcan side, and just get to see who Spock really is,
screaming into a pillow and whatnot.
That
was my favorite moment of that episode, was where he goes into like the other room and he starts screaming into a pillow. I died so hard. Yeah. I was like, oh my God.
But can we talk about how much a ride or die T'Pring is, though? Because T'Pring finds out and she's like, all right, well, we'll fuck it. We'll fake it till we make it. We got this, baby. Like, T'Pring is a real, true ride or die. Like, yeah, she puts up a bit of a fight in that episode, but again, as I said earlier, she's a cunt when her parents are around.
Yeah.
You get her away from her parents, and she's a completely different Vulcan.
Right. But then at the end of that episode, she breaks up with him.
Yeah, but, look, she knows what's going on. She knows what Spock needs, and let's be honest, if Spock had taken on T'Pring, it wouldn't have been the same. Then, of course, we don't get the Amok Time episode, so...
Right. So we know they get back together at some point.
Right. But no, I mean, I said, I love
even then, even if they don't talk, like him and Chapel are now broken up now, technically.
Yeah.
So,
and like, I love these gimmicky episodes because it feels like the original series. Like I said, it brings that 60s fun to the episodes without being overly done. They do it in a respectful, beautiful way. That again makes it feel like the original series and I think it's going to set up so well for the original series.
Point in case, in my opinion, would be the holodeck episode in season 3, where they're just starting out testing the holodeck, and the Enterprise is one of the first vessels that it gets tested on for Starship use. And we get to see kind of a Star Trek the original series-esque kind of deal, and it's absolutely fucking hilarious the way they did it, I thought. Where Paul Wesley really gets to tap into his William Shatner impression, and he fucking nails it.
But the holodecks, wasn't the Enterprise D supposed to be the first ship with the holodeck, though?
No.
Okay.
No. They had holodeck technology in the original series era, but it was more like a planet-based or star-based kind of thing. And it wasn't nearly as detailed as later models would be.
No. It's not like Quark's bar. It's more wider than that. It's to simulate having an actual day-night cycle, the sky and everything in the starbase.
Yeah, things like that.
It's not... Okay. At this point in time, the holodeck technology is not for personal use. It's to give people the sense that they're still on a planet, because a lot of people aren't fully... When they first come into space, they're not fully adjusted to being able to see every star in the sky that close.
Right.
So they give them that simulation of the day-night cycle. They'll simulate certain, things in it to make people a little bit more comfortable.
But I mean, also a little bit kind of like Quark's bar. But it wasn't nearly as developed as it was. Like, I think it could only reproduce like environments and stuff like that. You couldn't go in and like do people and so on and so forth. As far as that goes, there's not a whole lot of information on it, but like it could be used for recreational purposes. Like when we get to the animated series, I'll talk about that a little bit more. But
so the original, the animated series shows a holodeck.
Technically, they call it the rec room. They call it the recreation room.
Okay.
It's not
Um,
technically the holodeck yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Because
it
to
can
be
only
fair, I haven't watched a lot of the animated series. Like I've watched bits, I've watched a couple episodes here and there when I was growing up, but it wasn't, up until, recently, it wasn't really widely available,
right,
for me to watch. So
right.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think.
Um,
Yeah, we picked it up on DVD when I was a kid, so I've seen them all, and I love them all. I love every single one of those episodes. They're fantastic. But to see the holodeck in its kind of
infancy stage.
yeah, it's infancy stage, not to mention like how we see it in the next generation being developed in Strange New
Mhm.
Worlds. I just thought I thought it was hella cool and hella interesting. So,
Okay. I'm gonna be honest. Up until now, I did not know that technically the original series was able to use the holodeck. I thought that was just a brand new feature for Next Generation. I thought, the Enterprise D was one of the first ships outfitted with a holodeck. So, yeah, that's
well,
something new.
in
That's cool.
in your defense, in that episode, they do very much make it seem like it's a brand new technology. Even though they never say it's a brand new technology, they very much make it seem like it is.
Right.
And
In your defense of that.
And I will say in defense of that, what it might be is that it might be the latest, they finally worked out all of the bugs and the kinks and everything, and that's why it feels like it's brand new piece of technology, is they've finally gotten everything fine-tuned to the point where it can do everything that it says.
Right.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, so at least I'm not entirely stupid.
Yeah, because in the episode, the holodeck completely overrides whatever it needs to do, and it completely overloads the ship's power.
Gotcha.
So they're like, yeah, we should probably put this on the back burner for a while, which they do. At least as far as starships go.
Right. Okay. That'll be interesting to get to. Like I said, I have not seen a bit of season 3. Like I said, the last things I remember was the Gorn fight, where they have to rescue Pike's wife,
Yep.
or girlfriend, I should say. And we meet Scotty for the first time, and then we get that next episode right after, and then that's it. That's the most I've seen.
Which I think that's the one with Trelane, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. I think you're right.
And you get a cameo.
No, I have not met Trelane yet.
Really?
Because I've been dying to. To get the confirmation that Trelane is you.
No,
it might be the episode after that.
No, it's episode 2. Because you get the John Delancey cameo at the end of the episode.
Episode 2 of season 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of season 3, because season 3...
I thought you'd seen like the first episode.
Was not out when me and Hannah finished Strange New World. Season 3 was not out yet, so we jumped right to the original series. So I have not seen a bit of season 3.
So yeah, a little bit of spoiler. You get Trelane.
No, and I've known that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm waiting for it because I cannot wait for the confirmation that Trelane is in fact.
Oh man, that episode was so fun. It was like oh gosh, who plays him? I forget.
I also feel like at this point in time, it can no longer be considered spoiler warnings.
That's true. That's true.
Right.
It is, if I can fucking find the goddamn thing. It is Rhys Darby.
Huh. Okay.
So
how much does he look like the original Trelane?
He's got a little bit lighter hair, but other than that, I'd say it's a pretty accurate, pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Like he's got like blonde hair instead of I forget the original actor's name, but
Auburn Brown.
Yeah. Like other than that, like yeah.
I'd say it's probably about a 95% match.
Yeah.
Hold on. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back.
William Campbell. That's the actor's name, not whatever he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, William Campbell, who played Trelane, and Koloth, Captain Koloth in The Trouble with Tribbles.
Koloth.
My dear Captain Koloth. But yeah,
that
it's
will always be one of my. That will be always one of my favorite things about Star Trek is the Tribbles.
oh, the Tribbles are great. Especially because we got a Deep Space Nine original series crossover out of it.
Yeah. I love the Tribbles purely because Worf hates them.
That's fair. That's fair. That's actually my favorite episode of Deep Space Nine of all time, is that crossover episode where they go back in time to The Trouble with Tribbles. Yeah, William Campbell is the original actor for Trelane.
Yes.
But yeah, I'd say he looks pretty darn spot on. Yeah, like Carter said. Other than the hair.
Now, Carter, I have to bless you with this question. The way I blessed John and Kai with this question. Because Hannah had me thinking about this.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'll just get the HR report ready.
Oh, God.
I'm going to go ahead and sound the sound while you're at it. Here we go.
Yep.
So, Hannah brought up... I'll wait for the sound. Hannah brought up fucking on the holodeck with a holo
banging
image.
holodeck characters is what he's saying.
Uh-huh.
So I have to ask, what is your personal opinion on this? You fuck a holo image and you
deposit your genetic material. Because Chris is unwilling to say it.
within the holo image. Now, as long as it is a holo image, the genetic material, of course, stays inside the holo image. But when you get done and you turn off the holodeck, does it just kind of splooge on the floor, or does it just disappear with the holo image?
I think due to how the holodeck works, the ship would take it as like a DNA kind of like if you spilled a drink on the floor or something. It doesn't stay. There's a cleaning robot that'll come through and clean it up or something like that. Because however, with the way the holodeck works, I don't think there would be a possible way for you to do that. I think it would turn off that setting, for more or less of a better term. It wouldn't allow the actual conception, but it would give you the feelings of that conception. You'd still get the euphoria and everything without having the actual act happen because it's not a true person.
So, now do you want to know where it actually goes? So, the holodeck... I happen to know how most of this works.
Because John uses his quite frequently on his ship.
You know it. So the holodeck itself has a waste system. So for stuff like that, genetic material and just whatever else, whatever other bodily fluids or anything like that, would all get deposited into the holodeck waste system, and some poor lower decks motherfucker has to come and clean it out every so often. It's in jars. The goop is green. That was explained in a Lower Decks episode where Mariner has to clean out the holodeck waste system.
Can you just imagine going down there, just like smelling it, and go, "Oh my god, some of the sick fucks on this ship."
Yeah.
I mean, there was an episode that had that happen. Not cleaning it out. I swear there was an episode where somebody was doing it with the holodeck characters.
Knowing our luck, I think it was Riker.
No, it was because they created a specific program for it.
Actually, it was probably Barclay.
I remember seeing the episode because it's a specific program that only they created, and it ends up, and that might be wrong. I might be thinking of the Orville and not Star Trek.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Orville, because the only thing that I know that we could talk about close to this on Star Trek is Quark's bar. It is very much alluded to that Quark's holosuites are used for that specific
Yes.
function.
Yep.
I
was thinking it might have been like one of.
Gone up there to use them from time to time.
I was thinking it was one of the Reg Barclay episodes of Next Gen that happened. Because that is a very Reg Barclay thing to do, in all honesty.
Well, I think there is an allusion to that of Barclay, because remember, he creates, what is it, Hollow Deanna Troi, right?
Hollow Troi, Hollow Riker, Hollow, I think even Worf or something like that. But
Hollow Troi, he tries to do the with and get caught.
Yeah, Troy's like, well, it's okay. He can do this. It's not like he's hurting anybody. And then she sees the hollow her, and she's like, nope, we gotta shut this shit down fucking immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Orville, the one you're thinking about, is Barata or Bortus. That has
it's the
Orville. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, again, because like, as much as an HR violation this question is, it's an honest to God question. Like, you know what? Look, because there's someone out there. There's a Reg Barclay on every ship. Reg Barclay is not a one and done motherfucker. There is a Reg Barclay on every goddamn ship with the holodeck. There's some freaky motherfuckers that are either fucking someone on the ship hollow because they can't get them in real life, or they're hate fucking them because they can't stand them so much. They're teaching them a hollow lesson. You know what I'm saying?
Jesus Christ.
It begs the question, where the fuck does it go?
Yeah, it goes into the waste system, and
Hold on, guys. I gotta take a phone call.
Well. Interesting question. I'll admit that when he texted me
that HR complaint form ready, right?
Yeah, report's already filed. We're good. We're all set up for our next meeting.
Interesting is the right word that I would use
there. Well, here's the thing. He texted me this question. I want to say like last week sometime. I don't want to, or it was earlier this week. It was like either Saturday or it was sometime this week. And for me, why I said it was interesting is because it came out of left field. I was not expecting that kind of question, because he created a new group chat and called it Star Trek Dumb Questions. And yeah.
See, the problem is it's Chris. So you have to. Chris is the epitome of expect the unexpected.
Well, I think the question...
He is going to come out of left field. He's going to come out of left field with the most awkward-ass question that you've never thought to ask, or see some point in an episode that you've never really noticed before, and drill on that.
Well, I think Hannah actually asked the question, not Chris this time. As much as I want to give Chris the credit for that question, I think his wife asked that first. I think Hannah asked it, and then he asked me.
And that's fair, but it's still the same. It's the same logic, basically.
Granted, I like I said, I still was not expecting it, mind you, but yeah. I was like, huh. Yeah, okay.
However,
and what was more out of left field is I actually knew where the fuck it went.
However, that doesn't negate my point of I don't believe interesting is the right adjective to use there.
It was interesting to
Disturbed?
me.
Depraved? Insane? Sure. Interesting?
It's interesting because it is a legitimate question. You do kind of think, where does that stuff go when you do that?
No,
yeah.
because because I've watched Star Trek since I was a child, and I've never once thought that question to myself.
Same. Like, I've watched it since birth, and I never even thought to think of that until Chris brought it up, and
because it's not something a rational person thinks about.
Neither of us are rational.
I'm not worried.
You realize that, right? We are none of us are rational people.
I'm not one of those people to wonder about those kind of things. Because it doesn't cross my mind to think about that kind of question.
Yeah.
I
still think it's a valid question.
It's
and
one of
it
those
is
things that's
interesting.
understood. Oh, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's not a valid question. I'm just saying it's one of those things that's just kind of understood. It's not a question that needs to be asked, but you could ask the question. For me, I think it falls under one of those don't ask, don't tell kind of things. It's not. Right. It's a question you can ask, but it's just not a generally understood thing. Most people just kind of understand it's gotta go somewhere.
Right.
It's not just sitting on the floor of the holodeck.
Well, I was about to say, and it's not like that's the only thing the holodeck waste system is for, per se, but...
No, because you have those times where people use the bathroom in the holodeck, in a holo program and things like that.
Well, not only that, but...
Otherwise, if you have... like when Worf and Jadzia were on Deep Space Nine, and they would always have those battles in the holodeck.
Right. Well, not only that, but the system uses power just like anything else, and anything that didn't get used or can't go back into the holo emitters or whatever.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just human stuff, but anything that, say, got replicated in the holodeck that can't be reused gets put into the waste system.
Yeah.
Because there are some stuff, and I don't know what specifically they are, mind you, but yeah. That's all I got to say on that. That's the only thing I got for you on that.
Meeting with HR.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to schedule a meeting with HR and a ship's counselor for him.
We all need that, buddy.
What do you mean? I'm a perfectly normal person.
You're so full of shit. Perfectly normal, my ass.
I am a perfectly normal chief engineer. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfectly normal chief engineer, I'll accept. Perfectly normal person, you ain't selling that one to me.
I'm perfectly normal by chief engineer standards.
Man.
At least I'm not like Scotty yelling at somebody to get off of there.
Yeah, fair enough. Granted, that was
always one of my favorite.
Granted, that was Kelvin timeline, Scotty.
That's always
one
of my favorite parts of the Kelvin timeline.
Get down!
Yelling at the alien. Get off there!
Get down from there! And then he's just like, Yeah.
So here's a question.
Okay.
If you could change one thing about Strange New Worlds, what would you change?
This is another one where I've got nothing to change. I love every aspect of it, and I think if you changed anything about it, then it just wouldn't be as great as it is.
Okay, so then let's not say changed. What would you add? Something you want to see.
That is a good question because I'm not 100% sure. I definitely would like to see the Enterprise come into its actual, 1966 original Constitution class. I would like to see that aspect of it in that final episode. Or something very similar to that.
Okay, hey guys, I've got to dip out for the night. I can't. The starter on our Jeep just went out while Hannah was at work. So
Wonderful.
Um,
Well, that's all right. I
I
think
guess we should end the episode.
yeah,
here,
I think we can call it here.
okay.
So we've got plenty of material. So
yeah, give my last little 2 cents here. Come join us next time when we talk about Starfleet Academy, the first few episodes of that, and get onto the animated series, Star Trek series that are out there. So thank you guys for joining us. Be sure to check us out on all podcast streaming platforms now.
Yep.
All of them. And if you like this content, want something a little bit more that's not Trek, want a little bit more than Trek, come check out Nerds Town on this podcast as well. Be sure to also check out Theta Squad, which will be coming out very soon. Episode 1, it is phenomenal work. John has put a lot of love into this. And if you're not already, check out Happy Ghost Reviews, a blog that our buddy Ben is writing. If you want to learn about movies, want to know about movies, and how to break them down, go check out those posts. This is Captain Yarbrough, and I'm signing off.
And I am Captain Hudson, and I am signing off.
Lieutenant Junior Grade Hout signing off.